What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel today. We're going to be going over 5 players that I am avoiding in fantasy football this year. These are going to be 5 guys that, unless for some reason they fall crazy far to me, I am not targeting in drafts. If you haven't been to the channel before, please hit like and subscribe if you enjoy what you see at the end of the video. Also, always feel free to shoot me a comment as well. The first guy that's going to be in my video today is going to be Sam LaPorta at tight end. He's going off the board as tight end 2 right now. He basically was tight end 1 most of the offseason. Travis Kelce has recently passed him up. But for me, the ADP right now of the 3rd round for Sam LaPorta, I just do not love it. I really think the guys that you can get in the 5th round, the Kincaid, maybe Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, have the same exact ceiling that Sam LaPorta has. Last year, he had a bunch of touchdowns, which really just kind of put him up so high in the tight end ranks. Now, I do think Sam LaPorta is a good player, and I'm not saying that he's going to be a bad guy. I just think at his ADP, there really isn't much value to be had. You're basically drafting him to have the season he had last year. And to win your league, you need to draft guys that outperform that ADP. You can't really be drafting guys that just perform at their ADP level. So Sam LaPorta is one guy that I will not have any of my teams. Next, CJ Stroud going off the board, QB4 according to Fantasy Pros ADP. Very similar story to Sam LaPorta. For me, I love CJ Stroud. If I have him on a dynasty team, I am absolutely stoked. I think he's going to be great for this offense. But with the limited rushing ability of CJ Stroud, for him to hit at QB4, he's basically going to have to throw touchdowns in the high 30s, throw for probably 5,000 yards. And even then, he still might get passed up by some of these guys that are going to have better rushing seasons. So for me, I'm not usually taking a quarterback this high anyway. But if I am, it's not going to be someone that has to do it through only throwing. For me, Tua in the 10th, Jordan Love in the 8th or 9th is a much better pick than CJ Stroud in the 3rd or 4th round of your draft. So I'm avoiding CJ Stroud at his current cost in redraft fantasy football. Next, a guy going off the board, wide receiver 17, Cooper Kupp. Obviously going as the wide receiver 2 on his own team, but still going as a top 20 guy. And as much as I like Cooper Kupp, I just think he's kind of slipped a little bit since his amazing season a couple years ago. He's been a little hurt the last couple years. Like I said earlier, he's not the best wide receiver on his team anymore. Now, he totally could be back, and I think he's going to have some spike weeks. But just for where you're having to take Cooper Kupp, I would much rather get a guy like DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, guys who I just feel have a similar floor ceiling ratio that Cooper Kupp has, but they're younger, less injury prone. And as we've seen the couple years, Cooper Kupp really hasn't been able to replicate his season from a couple years ago. So I just think there's much better value at this point in the draft than going after Cooper Kupp for your wide receiver core. Next, a running back that I can tell you I will have on no teams this year, and that's going to be Zamir White. For me, he's just not involved in the passing game enough in that offense to really show me the ceiling that he has to have. He's going as an RB2. Yeah, if he is the guy, he gets all these touches, he scores a bunch of touchdowns, maybe he could finish as an RB2. But without the passing game work, probably on a lower offense, Zamir White for me just isn't really a ceiling play. And I just don't think he's that safe of a floor play either. I think he's really not much better than Alexander Mattison. I like Dylan Labe coming as a pass-catching option for the Raiders. So for me, I think there's some better options in this range. I'd much rather go wide out, tight end, even good range. Look at some quarterbacks like Kyler Murray at this part of the draft. So for me, I'm staying away from Zamir White. There just isn't enough upside from a running back who doesn't catch the ball, unless it's going to be someone like a Derrick Henry who's on a good offense with a bunch of touchdown upside. David Montgomery, kind of more players like that. I much prefer them to Zamir White if I'm going with someone that doesn't bring a bunch of pass catching into the mix. Last guy, this one's probably the most controversial on the list. DK Metcalf, wide receiver 20. He's not going as high as Cooper Kupp, but for me, Metcalf has finished about wide receiver 20 the last 2 years with Geno Smith. So I really just don't think there's much more ceiling when it comes to DK Metcalf in this range. I would much rather take a shot on his teammate JSN later in drafts. I think JSN is going to rise a bit in that offense. Obviously, they have 2 backs that we all kind of like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. And I just think in this range, you can do a lot better at the wide receiver position. Rashee Rice has a higher ceiling. I already said DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, if they're sitting there. Tank Dell, George Pickens. I could really go a bunch in this list, but instead of taking DK in the 4th, I think you can get one of those guys I just mentioned in the 5th round of your draft, and I would say they have a higher ceiling than DK Metcalf. Metcalf had that ceiling when he was playing with Russell Wilson, but I just don't know if Geno Smith is going to be the one to get him there. Even in Geno's amazing season 2 years ago, he didn't get DK as a wide receiver 1 or a high wide receiver 2, so I just don't really like the value for DK Metcalf in drafts right now. But thank you guys for tuning into the channel. Like I said earlier, please like and subscribe. It helps me a bunch trying to push these videos out. Having a bunch of fun. Check out some of my other ones. I got some Dynasty stuff as well. Shoot me a comment if you ever have any questions, and keep coming back to the channel for more content. But I appreciate you guys, and have a good day.